My first priority is to listen and to work with my community around the issues that they care most about, because it's not about my issues and the things that I think. It's about how we work together and how we as a community move forward. And then secondly, I would say that there's a in my mind, there's a vision that I see. And I do think that we can make our city a more socially, economically, and environmentally just for all. And that centers in on the community health and safety. It centers in on sustainable housing, not just affordable. It has to be sustainable. We have to actually reach our energy efficiency goals in order for us to have the sustainability that we need. Seeing that flooding in New York really harkens to the conversation, because we're not having it as much as we used to around climate change. And as we start to see more of these storms and more of this shifts, we know that what comes next is going to have impact on all of us. It's not limited by race or by color. And so I want to be really clear that we have to focus on how we have impact on our community, whether it's through recycling, composting, like all the little things that we can do as a municipality, we need to do them. And then I would also want to include the things around the environment and how we use our land. We have seen so many communities come in and talk about the flooding in their neighborhoods, and the way that the developers have been clear cutting our, for large developments or subdivisions. It's not sustainable. And so yes, we need affordable housing, and building all the housing on every piece of land might seem like a good idea, but we still have to figure out our waterways. We have to understand how our land use is having impact for multiple generations, not just for one. There's a plan that I would really love to implement around the economy and making sure that we're increasing our or decreasing our wealth gap, and increasing the jobs that are available, and creating a sustainable economy that supports the children who will be young adults and then the adults. And so noting that if we build our pipeline, which is why I support our county so closely in their Made in Durham and also in their Grown in Durham initiatives, to make sure that we're tying together the pieces of that pipeline from birth all the way to college or career. And it's similar to what I do in my job with Durham Children's Initiative, is making sure that we're attending to the children's developmental and academic needs, and then also their in-school and out-of-school needs. And so we definitely are building a framework right now. I'm part of the early childhood action team. And once that framework is built, we'll be able to move forward and network to make sure that there's no gaps for children that are born in this city.
My first priority would be housing justice because, as I said, gentrification, displacement, and unsustainable overdevelopment have really created a housing crisis in Durham, especially for Black communities who have lived here for generations. And I think people think of gentrification as something that's inevitable, but it's really not. It's a policy choice. Neighborhood development is also a policy choice, and that's what I believe we should be choosing. And if we do things like increasing city funding for affordable housing, especially close to key transit corridors, um, fully funding the eviction diversion program so that people are not getting evicted at such high rates, expanding legal aid to families who are facing eviction and homelessness, and increasing rent support for residents in public housing. These are all things that we can do to make sure that we are not encouraging gentrification, but we are encouraging just like housing, and we're encouraging neighborhood development and revitalization. My second priority would be community safety and justice, and that really refers a lot to policing. That instead of investing in a system that doesn't serve everyone, a system where some people feel safe and protected and supported, but others feel abandoned by the current system, others feel ignored, and some people feel over criminalized and surveilled. I believe that we should be investing in truly protecting and supporting all of our communities. So that includes investing in gun violence prevention, anti poverty measures, and restorative justice. That includes fully funding the community safety department. It includes removing SROs from schools, so we stop that school to prison pipeline, and investing in mental health and substance abuse support. It includes continuing noncompliance with ICE so that we don't have people who are deported because they don't have citizenship records. And includes decriminalizing cannabis possession for personal use, because that's been a tool that really exacerbates the racism that we see inherent in so many of our systems. And finally, economic justice. For me, economic justice means prosperity that's shared across communities. But thanks to inequitable, racist, and classist policy choices, Durham's economic growth has largely excluded communities of color and low income communities. So we need leaders who will choose progressive economic policies, including a thriving wage of $25 an hour, expanding participatory budgeting, which is a program that allows residents to have more of a direct say on what the city budget spends on, prioritizing funding for businesses that commit to equitable practices like having diverse leadership, having a thriving wage, using inclusive decision making processes, establishing a city jobs guarantee. These are all things that we can do to support progressive economic development and make sure that everyone is seeing economic success as opposed to just a few people.